Welcome, everybody, to episode 13 of The Hump. It's Hump Day. Welcome, everybody. It's the middle of the week, and it's Marc Mac coming at you again from live on LinkedIn with my guest tonight's another Aussie in the house, I have to say. So I didn't want to ask him what day it is today because it's Thursday for him, and so but it is Hump Day here in the United States, and we've got a different kind of show tonight. We're not even going to talk anything really about the same old that I talk about, cold calling and sales development, because, well, we'll talk a little bit about entrepreneurship. But tonight I want to talk about a problem that a lot of guys have, a lot of people have in our busy lives, our grinding lives. We have a problem. We have maybe a weight problem in some cases. Maybe we commit sometimes to exercising. So you go for 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and then something gets in the way and you stop for some reason. Or the infamous, and I have it in my house, elliptical machine. That's although my elliptical is in this kind of other room, so there's no clothes laying on it necessarily. It's actually open, and you could jump on it any time, and my son does. But you know how many times I've gotten on and off of that, and started and stopped and started and stopped. And I bought this sit-stand desk, so I've been committing to that. I'm committing to walking around, at least getting out of the house and walking. But it's a problem for us. We grind on the phones, on email, on LinkedIn all day, and trying to do this thing we call sales. And it's hard sometimes to really stay on top of things. So I brought in an awesome dude that I met on LinkedIn named Andrew Jax. What a great name for a guy who's into exercising. And you're Jax. I'm jacked up to see you tonight and to welcome you to the show. I hope everybody can draw something. So we're going to learn a lot about how you can actually stay on top of your exercise regimen. We're going to talk a little bit about good habits and how you can keep those habits and stay consistent with it, and learn a little bit more about how Andrew's been bringing his sense of these kinds of things to the Australian market, and hopefully soon and more so to the U.S. market. So welcome, Andrew. Really appreciate you joining me tonight. I'm so excited. What's going on, man?
Yeah, great to be on here, and welcome everyone. Hello to everyone. You're going to get a ton of value today. I'm going to share all my tips that I have for you guys, and I do work with a lot of busy professionals, a lot of sales managers as well, a lot of sales reps myself that are my clients. So I do see the pitfalls that they face and the challenges. So I'll be helping you get through those as well.
Awesome, man. Well, Andrew, listen, I give you 2 minutes to just let us know how you got started in this. If everybody goes, most of my linkies are going to go to the LinkedIn page and see, 2020. So maybe tell us a little bit about where you were before that and how you got into this, and your family and your life in Australia, whatever you want. Go for it. 2 minutes.
Sure. So I'm 45, father of 3 children, 7, 11, and 13. And married as well, from Melbourne, not Melbourne, Florida, Melbourne, Australia. And it is Thursday morning here, but still consider it a hump. And I've been in the weight loss and health space and fitness space since I was in my 20s. I'm 45 now, and so I have a 25 years experience. I'm currently focused on busy professional dads, helping them lose their gut and get on top of their health as well. And my methodology doesn't require exercise. However, it is an additional bonus if you can do that, and I'll get more into that later. But I've been passionate about health and fitness. I feel like that's my calling, that's my purpose. And because I've been able to do it for myself, I started off with a bodybuilding phase, from going from 18 up until 2024, where I started at a competitive level, won 5 state titles.
Yeah, that's right. I read about that too. Yeah, absolutely, man. I didn't want to say it. I'll let you say.
Okay. And and then found success there. So I'm like, let's go for an Australian title. So I won a national title in bodybuilding, won that, and decided to hang up the trunks, so to speak, because we have to wear posing trunks.
Yeah.
And decided to, because I felt like I peaked naturally. I didn't want to go down the path of taking steroids. I'm a man of faith and believe that we shouldn't put that in our bodies. So Decided not to do that. And if I was to push my body anymore, I would start to get injury and joints would deteriorate. So I decided to stop there, maintain my physique, maintain my health. And I got into judging. So I started to judge the competitors. So I still stay involved. And currently I've worked my way up now as being the Australian head judge of a natural federation called the ICN Federation.
Awesome. Tell me something, you mentioned the steroid thing, right? And of course, when people who don't really know the sport too well maybe watch it and see these like monstrous guys that are like there's like muscles on top of muscles on top of muscles. And what happens to those guys like as they get older? I mean, look, Schwarzenegger, obviously I'm a huge fan. I have a buddy of mine who I grew up with who like had pictures of him and his posing and all kinds of things on our wall in college, for Christ's sakes, as opposed to like girls on the wall, right? Yeah, I had the girl on the wall, and he had, or I had the car on the wall, and he had Schwarzenegger on the wall. So I definitely saw that you had the opportunity to meet him, and he's a lot of people's heroes and stars. But like, what happens? Like, because you said it a little bit. You said you didn't want to do that not only from a religious perspective, but from the fact that like you didn't want that like today you'd be not looking the same.
So there's two different types of people that decide to take it. There are ones that just want a shortcut and start to take it from the start, but they don't get the nutrition and their exercise done properly, and that's the key thing. Then there's people that decide to take it as they want to get to a more advanced level. The second you stop taking it, the second your strength starts to drop and you start to lose that muscle, but the negative effects that it's had on your health stay there forever.
Yeah.
So that's the risk that they take, and they don't typically see the long-term effects that it can have.
Right. I mean, they want that shortcut essentially, right?
Well, there are some that want the shortcut, but there are some that know that they need to take it if they want to compete in those federations that allow it. Because there are federations that are natural that test for it and don't allow it, and there are ones that allow it.
And I assume that obviously the ones you're affiliated with don't.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to be like, I guess, that's, when I remember watching those kinds of shows, it's definitely, it's unusual. They're unusually large. Like you just can't compete. And then there are the guys you see in there that are still also natural, and yet they're not winning. They're competing, but they're not winning, so. How do you look at it when you judge? I mean, obviously everyone's natural, so it's a different thing. But like, what would be like the main? Do you look for character at all? I'm curious.
It all depends on the category. So we have a muscle and model categories. So there are some we do females too. So it's not just muscle like bodybuilding. There's some new categories now that cater for the Instagram type physiques. So there's physique, there's fitness model, both male and female. There's bikini model, there's swimsuit. So there's all different categories. So it all depends on the category, and some require better presentation and stage presence and confidence and flair, and some are more about the physique. So it all depends. But
what were you?
What was I? I was an old school bodybuilder.
Yeah, physique. All right, that's cool.
Yeah.
And do you find yourself like because you're doing probably a lot of just coaching and training? How do you keep your daily routine up?
Yeah, so for me, obviously life has changed since becoming a teenager, and what I apply now is something that inspires a lot of other men and fathers. That's why I put together my program and decided to go the course that I have with helping dads. For me, it's about having a level of moderation, still enjoying your food and drink, because I enjoy a scotch on the weekends. I enjoy chocolate after dinner. So I'm not completely restrictive. I do have a 6-pack, but I'm able to maintain that while still doing these things. And so I'm not exercising every day either. I exercise 3 times a week, and that's it most of the time, right? And that's 3 sessions in the gym of about 45 minutes just to be able to maintain my physique. And then in between, if I can go for walks as well to break up the day and get some cardio in, I do that as well. But I do eat healthy. I do eat clean. For me, it's second nature because I've been doing it for so long. And that's what I try and impart to other men is make it keep doing it, be consistent, and it becomes easier. And it'll become second nature, and it's less of a challenge for you.
Oh, I had the wrong thing up there, for Christ's sakes. Yeah, no, absolutely. I was so focused on you and what you were saying. So that kind of leads me to asking, like, you said it, you almost said it in what you just said, which is, how do you stay consistent? How do you create that? Like, what's the mindset that you're imparting on these other fellas? Is it this formula? Because to me, that habit, a sustainable habit. If I can make it a habit, then it'll be sustainable. But tell me, what is this all about?
Yeah, so it's a matter of prioritizing your health. So first of all, it's a mindset thing. So making sure that, why is it important to you to focus on your health? Why does it matter? Because if it doesn't matter, you're not going to follow through with what you need to do. So we need to get that mindset piece first. And if it's something like, I need to lose weight to get off medication, or to increase my energy levels, or to stop the joint pain, those sort of things, or just to be proud of how you look, to look sharper, especially when you're doing sales, your clients will respect you more when you show that confidence within yourself of how you look, as well as if they see that you're overweight and unhealthy, it shows a lack of discipline, and then they can lose respect from you. So I would like to think that if you look sharper and more confident, you're more likely to close more deals too.
So my brother would say, and he's one that probably I'm sure he does some exercise, and he's 60. He's actually a custom clothier, right? So he makes custom suits, shirts, ties, women's clothes, sport stuff. He even got into doing other stuff. He now changed jobs and he's working for a really high-end clothier in New York City, Manhattan. And what he taught me growing up was to look sharp and confident. It's what you're wearing. So, you could be heavy, right? But still have a confidence. But no, I totally understand. What do you say is like people's biggest kind of excuse?
With not looking after themselves or being overweight.
Yeah, I mean, or just not even like I'm not necessarily overweight. I'm 170, I'm 5'11", although I don't know, I put in some things in some kind of app and it told me that I was kind of almost obese. I don't know, maybe I put the wrong things in. You shouldn't trust any of those things anyway. But I'm at 170, I'm 5'11". I don't feel like I'm fat. I just feel like because I haven't been consistent with exercising, if when I do go out and do a little, like if I run a mile, I'm winded, and I know that if I just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, I'm starting small. Like I'll walk a mile and a half and I'll do a jog the last half mile back to my house. And I'm pretty winded. I could catch my breath and like I going inside, but I realize I'm not conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think is people have these excuses sometimes. They're like, and they may learn that maybe they have other health problems, obviously. Like I have asthma, right? And so that could be an issue with just my air intake per se, why I get winded quicker. But I also am 50, I'll be turning 52 in a couple of weeks. And I don't know, I don't think, I mean, I have a little bit of a belly. I mean, I remember when I had a six pack and you could see it. I have a picture. Is that like what people need? What do you like? What is the motivation? What, like, that's why I asked you, what's the biggest excuse? Like, there's so many people that start and stop and start and stop. And what do you think it is? Is it?
It could be time, lack of time. People use that as an excuse. Lack of motivation, right? Not knowing what to do. Lack of structure. Lack of accountability.
Yeah, let's talk about the time thing, because I think that's probably a big one, right? You said it first. So so your methodology allows people to fit it in. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. People think that it takes extra time to get in shape, to lose weight, to be healthy. The way I operate, because most people are used to, I have to do this program or do this diet, that's going to obstruct my life. It's going to take me away from what I'm currently doing, and I have to start doing new things. the way I operate and the way I teach my clients is work with what you're currently doing and start to tweak what you're currently doing. So when people come on a call with me, I ask them, what are you doing? I start to highlight the issues that is causing them to be unhealthy and overweight. And I say, well, we need to tweak this. Would it be your diet, your sleep, your water intake, alcohol intake, small tweaks here, but we go through them step by step, not all at once. Because if it's too much all at once, it becomes unsustainable and too much, and then they just give up. So like we go through everything step by step. So if it's diet, are you having breakfast? If you're not, let's start having breakfast. And then if you're having dinner, you might be eating too much. Well, let's start to tone down the portions, but not cook separately from your family. Cooking together, eating together, the same types of foods, but having leaner choices. Very simple, small tweaks along the way makes a massive difference. I just had someone lose 15 kilos, which is about 35 pounds in 6 weeks. And he didn't even need to exercise because we tweaked his habits.
Right.
That's what it's about. And that doesn't require extra time because you're already doing it.
Right. It's just a small changes, which is actually very relative to, the sales world that they could relate to, because we're always talking about celebrating small wins. It's little steps. It's getting that little bit of information. And then, like when I was back in the 90s, I remember training a team of sales reps, and you would do like a training session. This is why I hate like not that I don't believe in it, but like the programs for sales training was always like these Sandler, Miller Hyman things where people would go to a conference place for 6 hours on a Friday or 6 hours on a Thursday and 6 hours on a Friday, and they learn all this crap and they go through all this training stuff, and then they're supposed to replicate it on Monday, in real life. And I always used to say, there's no way you can consume that much information that quickly. And so what I'm getting from you is that like maybe some people, and maybe this is me, like or was me, because I'm not doing a lot. Like my doctor just said, just do a little bit at a time. But like, maybe at a younger age, I would have been more prone to looking at it as being too overwhelming for me. Like, oh, I got to change this, I got to change this, I got to change that. When you can't do that. You have to just start little by little, piece by piece, and understand how to really make those changes and tweaks. And so when I was training people, this woman would say to me in the sales environment, she would say, they're not going to like I would tell a guy, like I would tell him that he would hang up the phone, and we'd go through this whole thing, right? Like I would change this, I would change that, I would change it. And then she would say, she'd pull my coat and she'd be like, just do one little thing at a time, because they're not going to get it. They're not going to remember everything you said. They're going to remember one thing that you said, first thing, And so if you just say that and you tweak that, so very relative. I'm seeing that as maybe the biggest problem, is that people see it as overwhelming. So I got to check all these changes. And then when I have a call with you, you just break these things down little by little, right?
I think it's also fear of having to give up things they enjoy, like going out with the family with dinner and social events, and giving up alcohol. And that's why I make it clear that you don't have to give up those things. We just need to make adjustments. And we'll actually have what I call a reward meal every week. If they've done well throughout the whole week, once a week, they can have whatever they like once a week. So it could be a Saturday night, Sunday lunch with the family, whatever you like. And it's a bit of a reset.
So that's great. I mean, basically, like breakfast, I eat a yogurt and some cereal, like a Honey Nut Cheerios. And sometimes instead of the cereal, I'll have like a 1 egg white and some toast, just a small breakfast. I don't like to eat a lot in the morning. I don't feel like eating a lot in the morning, except for like on maybe a Sunday, we'll go to the Cracker Barrel and I'll have a couple of pancakes and maybe some bacon and, like the cheat one. And I feel stuffed, like I don't want to feel like that, so I eat a small breakfast. Lunch is typically for me like a salad and some other kind of protein, like I might even make some bacon for that matter, like, or if I didn't have the egg in the morning, maybe I'll have it at lunch. And then dinner, we have a pretty square meal. Usually it's either like salmon or chicken and rice and a vegetable, whether that's broccoli, a lot of broccoli, green beans, and then a whole lot of other like cabbage type style stuff. And I don't know. I think it's a balanced. I don't get stuffed. It's a good portion. In fact, we actually use a company called Hungry Root that sends this box pre-made already, and it's all natural stuff, and they're really good at keeping the right kinds of things in there, and we use, like, they set up the different things, and so you just pick, and it's worked for us because of our time. It's a service that we have here, and that's there's a lot of them probably. I don't know if you have it in Australia, but and I think it just, we weren't like that, for a while when it was just me and my wife. It was bad, like I worked in the city, walking around the city. What do you think I ate? Pizza, McDonald's, at least a few times a week like that. And luckily I had a high metabolism. This was like when I was in my early 30s, and I didn't gain too much weight, but I always thought about, like, what is this really doing to me in the long run? And I always think about my health too, because my father passed away at 54 from a single heart attack, and never, that was it, one heart attack his whole life, so I go to see a heart, I go see my cardiologist. In fact, I have an appointment tomorrow, and I don't know, I think I'm doing the right things, but I never know, and I'm lucky that I'm home and I have those kinds of things still as an option. I think if I was still driving as much as I was driving, I was a windshield warrior. I would drive 6, 7, 8 hours a day, all around New York City plus, and in and out of the car. So I really didn't have a choice. Although there was a time, like I said, because I've gone up and down, where I would bring some lunch with me, or at least try to find a healthy option out. It was very expensive, as you can imagine. So I'm looking to. I don't necessarily. So the reason why we kind of adopted those things, of course, because our life changed, and I have a child, and I want my child to eat right, and I want my child to grow up right and healthy. And so, do you find that there's guys? Is that any part of, like? Do they ever ask you, or is that kind of some of that because you have children, obviously 7, 11, and 13. They're probably pretty active right now. 13, 11. Are they boys or girls?
My oldest is a boy, and I have two of the younger ones are girls.
Yeah, so I mean, 11-year-old girl, 13-year-old boy, and if there's just, about health in your culture and your family, I'm sure they're active, probably on sports teams and things. So, what do you find with your clients? Is do you find them? Is it maybe sometimes they're going to share it with their kids, and like, do they talk about that? Curious.
Yeah. So I try to instill that on my clients. Some of them come to me already saying, I need to be a healthier role model for my children. Some don't realize that yet either. So I try to make them aware of it, right? Make them problem aware. Like, you're the leader of your home. You should be setting the example. If they see you pouring a drink for stress relief at the end of the day, they're going to think, well, if I'm stressed, that's what I need to have to relieve my stress. So when I get older and I'm stressed, that's what I'm going to do. Because they learn by observation, especially those they're most around. So we need to be that healthy role model. And so I try to make sure they're aware of that. Say, this should be a reason why you need to do something about this. And that's why I'm passionate about helping fathers, because if I can get into fathers' heads and help them improve their health and lead by example, it passes on to their family and has a greater impact to the generations as well.
Yeah.
Because we know what impact a bad father has on the kids and generations. We want to try and improve it from a health perspective, because people talk about passing on an inheritance of wealth. No one ever talks about an inheritance of health.
Not in a positive way, I would say. They do absolutely talk about it in whatever's wrong with the family, right? So, for example, for us, look, you said something interesting, but my father, he ran a store, a pharmacy, a mom and pop pharmacy for 20 years, most of the life of my life, except for the last 3 years of his life, which was mine 16 to 19 years old. He died at 19, or when I was 19. And so, interestingly enough, I didn't, every night you know, he would come home late sometimes, like after dinner, and we'd sit down again, you know, and he would come in and he would have 2 fingers of a Canadian Club, you know, and rye, you know, and so like we didn't really think about it, but I know that's what he was doing. He was coming, he ran a store. I mean, he got held up at shotgun to his face, you know, things like that. Like a cash business is a very stressful job. You know, when he got a partner, it was a little bit less. He was able to be home for dinner. And then he got out of it like 3 years before he passed away and got into like working for a company like home health care. It was the beginnings of home health care back then. It was in 91. And so, but he came home and he had that drink, and I knew that was the drink just to take the edge off. I mean, we just understood that. I don't drink really much at all. I do have some bourbon and whiskeys, and whatever, sitting there, and cigars, and you know. So when my brothers come over, that's what we do. I'll have that maybe once in a while on a Friday night, Saturday, where I'm saying like, I think I deserve this for the week, you know. But I don't drink every night, even though he did. We appreciate the liquor for what it goes through to get to that point. You know, 18-year-old Scotch. You know, you have to have some. You got to have some respect for that. You know, but I still think I can make strides in improving my health. So like my father passed away at 54, so I'm always concerned about my heart. I have other issues that, you know, like my brother, he's got a little bit worse, but like, you know, he went to see a urologist for his prostate. You know, prostate cancer is an important thing to be aware of for men. I actually just learned that I'm normal, which is quite ironic because I felt like, you know, like my brothers he had started having problems at my age, you know, and so I think it's passed on like that. I think people just think more about that than, wow, my dad was Andrew Jax, you know, a world bodybuilding championship, you know, and like we should be healthy and like we should have square meals, whatever, you know, all that kind of stuff. So quite interesting what you said. But I think, yeah, you know, is it more about what people just avoid it, you know, like they don't think about the healthy side. I think they just think about the negative side, I guess.
It's in the yeah. And look, the men's health, and it's females as well. It's in the back of their heads, but because they get swept up in the business and the chaos of life. You tell me one person that doesn't say I'm not busy. There's not many. Most of them say I'm busy, flat out. So health gets put on the back burner. They put themselves last because they're putting their families first if they've got a family. And then the only way they decide to do something most of the time is if they start to see physical signs, like they struggle to get out of bed, struggle to tie their shoes up. Someone's made a comment to them. One of their kids has said, "Dad, you're looking fat." Or the doctor's told them. I've had people, you know, that was a turning point. Well, the doctors say you've got to do something because if you don't, you're not going to last very long. It's going to be a big issue. And so it almost like with going to a chiropractor. You guys have chiropractors, yeah?
Yeah.
You're not going to go see a chiropractor until you can hardly move. You've got back pain and you can't handle that pain anymore. You need to go see someone to fix it. That's what typically happens.
I go regularly.
Yeah. Or some people, if they're smart, they'll maintain it and they'll do it regularly.
Oh, I actually am friends with my chiropractor. I went out, hung out with him like one night. One night he actually got so drunk he poured his drink all over the blackjack table at the local casino. I had to take him home. Yeah, no, seriously. Like, and he's a funny guy. I mean, he really knows his stuff, and some people don't like it because I have actually my best friend is a physical therapist. And like physical therapy and chiropractors, they hate each other. They would kill each other. Like, you know, chiropractors don't care, but the physical therapists care. It's like EMTs, you know, performing surgical things in the field they shouldn't be doing. Doctors gonna scorn them for that, you know. So it's like the same thing. Like physical therapists who's into meds, you know, schools, and they believe in the physical therapy long term instead of like somebody coming in and adjusting you. Right. But what's weird is the reason why I continue with him, and regardless of those notions that my other best friend tells me, is because it's helping me. Like it helps with my allergies and even though I have sinus problems right now, But I have issues in my back sometimes, or with my like I have like a sciatica thing, and it helps, but it doesn't help if I don't go, because there was a time where like I stopped it for 6 months, and the pain kept coming back. And now he's got me on like it was 5 weeks. Like he'll chiropractors like see you like acutely for the first, like every week, or maybe even twice a week when we first started. And then it got slowly deeper and deeper. So now it's like once a month, and if I have more and more pain, depending on what I tell him when I come, he adjusts that. And it's a maintenance, and that's so important. Preventative maintenance.
Mm-hmm. Just
You could
like
do
a
preventative
car.
maintenance on your car. Yeah, I was gonna
Exactly
say
like a car. You can
exactly.
not service it for years. You might get away with it. Eventually,
Right.
it's going to break down, and then it's going to be worse off. You're going to have damage to it, and you're going to be paying more in the long run.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know what I'm really interested in, because you said earlier, you were a bodybuilder, you were into exercise. What happened that, like, did you go into, like, I've seen a lot of guys before they went into their own business, maybe they worked as a fitness instructor in a gym for somebody else, and then continued to grow their client base kind of like that. Like, even my buddy who's a physical therapist, he worked for somebody else, for a while, and now he's on his own. But he got to meet people, and he helped people, and then they started telling. So like when people ask them, "Oh, who do you go to?" Now all of a sudden he's on his own. He's like, "Go to Keith," right? So I'm curious, how did that evolve into Six Pack Dad and what you're doing now?
So I've always been business minded. I've always had ideas, but I've never put them into practice. And I discovered the power of online business, the fact that you could operate from your home or from your office and reach the world in your own time, not having to physically be somewhere, not having to go into a gym and be limited by one-on-one interaction and time and proximity. So I'm like, cool, let's explore the online business space. Got into marketing all the way back from, I think it was 2009, when Facebook was just starting around then, and YouTube was starting to build up. And so I started to think, how can I apply my passion? And because men kept asking me, how do you maintain this physique, Andrew? Tell me how. I want to know how. So I packaged this together into a program, and then decided to be able to deliver it online, so that way I could reach anyone, anytime, anywhere. And that's how I sort of decided to let's put this together in the online space. And now I'm able to deliver it to people in the UK, Canada, USA. Even had someone from Barbados and Argentina as well, South Africa. Wow. So that's the power of it. And so I love it. It's a scalable model that doesn't require a lot of staff, a lot of outlay either. So there's less risk, but it is harder work because there's no physical presence where you've got constant traffic, physical traffic. You've got to put yourself out there, and that's where a lot of my time is spent making content and reaching out to people.
Does that help with respect to giving you the time for not only your family, but to have your own exercise regimen? Is like, because you're able to scale online maybe more because you could do it in a shorter amount of time. Is it mostly content based? Like how much face to face do you do? Like, that's what I'm saying.
So face to face. So the way I typically operate is I have an app, and a lot of it is all automated. But then I have 2 coaches that work for me, and then so each client has their own success coach. And I have one-on-one interaction with them through the app, video, text, or audio. And then once a week we have a group coaching session on Zoom.
Nice. So at what point did you say, I need somebody else? Were you just getting too much coming in? You couldn't really effectively help those people if you were not 100% there or giving them the time that they need daily, weekly. Is that what happened? Like you just was like, oh shit, I better get somebody.
Yeah. There was a time where the client base was growing, and it was a steady growth. So I didn't want to put someone on and then I had no clients to give them. So it was at a stage where I was starting to feel like I couldn't give them the attention that they deserved. I'm like, all right, let's start getting someone else in, so that way they can give them more attention. Because I'm quality over quantity. And I decided, all right, I'm up to this amount of clients. Let's hire a coach, put him on, and then he could only handle so much. So I got another coach, and then put them on, and then remove myself from client fulfillment. Although I still do have some clients that are still with me from the beginning. I'll look after them, but it frees me up to grow the business and improve the program and things like that.
Absolutely. Are those two other coaches by chance came from your coaching, from your program, or were they totally different people?
They didn't. They're actually on my judges team. So they've been judging with me for a few years now. They're fathers themselves, which is great. So they get the lifestyle of a father, and they're in the fitness space as well.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, obviously. But it's your brand, your business, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it's awesome. But online it kind of looks like, you started it maybe in 2020. What you literally started it in 2009, you said, basically. What happened in 2020? Because obviously the whole world, or let's just say there was a lot of people already online, already doing this thing in LinkedIn and whatever, and Instagram and Facebook and whatever. And then all of a sudden in 2020, like myself, was relegated to being at home, work from home, all of a sudden created, Lord knows, right? I mean, so obviously the same in Australia too. So what did that, like, was that something like, oh my God, like for you, like, tell me what you went through in 2020, because obviously that's when your presence on LinkedIn starts.
Yeah, it actually had nothing to do with what was happening around the world, to be honest. It was just coincidental. It's just that I decided to launch it then, and it had nothing to do with what was happening. But it was a good time because people were getting used to going online, using Zoom, getting a bit more tech savvy, that sort of thing, and not relying on just a personal interaction.
Yeah. I mean, look, I was 25 years, I mean, up until 2019, I was roughly, I mean, even then I was still driving to an office, but like up until 29, from basically 95 to 1995 to 2019, I was on the road, and always going somewhere, and was not at home. And then 2019, I took a job in an office, and then March of 2020, boom, I was, we all were at home, and there was no work obviously for March, April, whatever. But I woke up in April and said, I got to make some money, right, somehow. And I started doing this. I bought myself a computer and screens and microphone and a camera, and I was like, I just changed everybody's life. And it probably was great for companies that actually sold exercise equipment, right? Because everybody was home and they probably wanted to upgrade whatever they had or didn't have, or people were finding different ways to get. Those who were going to the gym were finding other ways to figure out how to do it. I remember back in the day, we used to have in my house at home, we used to have that like chin up bar in my house, By the way, I normally have a sweatshirt on, but I figured you were going to be dressed like that. So I had to put together some of my own guns for the night, But no, man, it's a challenge. My son said this to me, he said, he's a great kid, right? He doesn't eat candy, period. I mean, he had a lollipop and didn't even eat all of it the other day because somebody gave it to him for Valentine's Day. And like, he doesn't eat candy, he doesn't eat condiments, like everything is plain, butter on some things. He doesn't realize that when we do eat pizza, but when we do pasta, he doesn't do sauce on the pasta. I'm like, you eat pizza? I don't understand. That's so weird. So he's really kind of like, and he says to me, he goes, Dad, you eat donuts and ice cream. I go, well, I don't eat like a big giant donut. I'm eating like an old fashioned donut once in a while. And I happen to eat ice cream every night. That's just my thing. I've been doing that since I'm like a kid, but I eat like lactose free, like 0-calorie vanilla. So like, what's the difference? Now I might pour a little chocolate syrup on it, right? A little cheap, but like, and he thinks that is like, you're going to get fat, Dad. And I'm like, he knows I'm not, but we go to karate, and he sees me walking, he sees me do other things. So, but he's runs around, he's 9 years old. So You know, would I like him to probably do more outside sometimes? Yeah, but these kids these days, sometimes they're like, they go outside just to play Nintendo Switch outside. You know, like, dude, that's not. Yeah. I'm like, can you just go run down the block? Go disappear.
Yeah.
You know? You
And
know,
now they've
so,
got the, I don't know if you guys have got the e-bikes now and the e-scooters, so they don't have to pedal anymore.
oh no, that's just retarded. If you're not actually pedaling, that's. Oh, you're talking about like the scooter? Yeah. Obviously,
The
yeah.
electronic
There's,
bikes, yeah.
yeah, I see some kids out there with that. But nah, you know, it's like, I didn't even ride the bike. You're gonna ride the bike, you know?
Yeah, use your legs.
Yeah, I don't get it. You know, but some people have a problem with that. I mean, do you find that some of the dads talk about that, like their kids are like on the computer or like, you know, on the game whatever console?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
you
hard.
get a lot of
They're always
complaints
on there.
about that, but I think it's up to the parents as well to put limits on it and teach them why they shouldn't be on it for so long and educate them.
Where do you find most of your clients are? Are they mostly like maybe just need small tweaks and they're just confused on what to do, or are they just dead on like, you
Normally
know,
they're
fat
at
and
a
this?
normally they're at a critical stage for them to, because a lot of them have been following me for years, and it's not until they've tried everything and they're at their wits' end, or they know they can't do it on their own, or they've just been advised if you don't do something, you might not last very long. That's when they sort of come to me. So it's typically when they need to lose 20 plus pounds.
If I lost 20 pounds, I think I would be thin, really thin. I think I probably should be not 20 pounds lighter. I should just be cut up a little bit more, you know, or add a little muscle. That's a problem. Like I have like, I don't know, I think it's called costochondritis, like in between the ribs, like where my ribs meet the breastplate, I guess. I get a like gaseous things in there that'll just cause me a little. And so I was thinking at first before I learned this that I was just losing muscle because I'm not doing push-ups and I'm not like I'm exercising. I'm trying to keep healthy, but I'm not building muscle. So my pectoral muscles are like not really where they used to be. Let's just say that.
Yeah. So as you age, your metabolism will decrease. It's a matter of reversing that through certain things. Like the more muscle you have, the more lean muscle mass you have, the higher metabolism will remain elevated always, even when you're sleeping. So that's why I like to tell people I lose fat in my sleep. And that's why it's important to reverse the aging process by staying active, lift some weights, keep doing your cardio. Then it'll keep your heart and your muscles in good stead. And that's going to help keep that metabolism elevated. The longer you leave it by doing nothing, the harder it gets. Whether it be gaining weight, it's going to be harder to gain that extra weight. Whether it be your metabolism dropping, it's going to be harder. If you start to have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, get on medication, it's going to be harder to get off that. So it's the best time to take action is today.
Yeah, I saw my cholesterol numbers, not necessarily the bad LDLs or HDLs. There was a rise in that at one point, my cardiologist pointed out to me. And then by just small tweaks, like you said, I feel like the next time I went to him, it was normal. Actually, I didn't even have to go to. He was like, "It looks good from one of the last." Now I'm going tomorrow again, and he hasn't called me since he's gotten the results. And I went through the results even on my chart thing, and they all say I'm in normal. Now, could it be better? Like that's what I always think to myself, and I think it's just my conditioning. If I just continue to do it, eventually that'll improve, or at least I hope.
Yeah. So I want to give your guys some practical strategies about what they can do, because I know if you are taking calls remotely just from your own office or house, you're probably doing back-to-back appointments. You're sitting or you're standing at your desk, not getting out of the house much. Some people tend to skip meals. Some people don't focus on their meals and they might just get takeout. Some people don't have enough water, not enough sleep, or their mind's always racing all the time, or not even prioritizing their exercise. So is it okay if I share some tips for you guys, or even people that travel on the road as well? There's some issues there.
Absolutely. Before you do that, though, what is the website address is it sixpackdad.com? Do you have that? Or
So my website is ditthedadfat.com.
Okay, cool.
And if people want to learn more, they can just plug in their details in there. They'll get access to a video that I've got and some other case studies, and they can book a call with me if they're interested. But so there's some key components that everyone needs to focus on in order to get the optimal health and energy levels too, because we talk about the hump. We need to get not only a hump in the week, but it's also a hump in the day. People typically tend to have an afternoon slump, whether it be 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And so what can happen there is some people can fall asleep at the desk, doze off, feel lethargic, not feel like go for a coffee, have a coffee, or even go for sweets.
2:30, 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
So the ways to counteract that so that way you can continue on with, optimal productivity and energy is the first thing is sleep. A lot of people overlook sleep. Sleep is crucial. Your body is designed to get 7 to 8 hours sleep. If you don't get that much sleep, then you're going to suffer the next day. 7 to 8 hours sleep. Now, it has to be quality sleep too. So you've got to leave your phone away from your bedroom.
My phone stays in my office, and my mother used to hate that because she would call when she was alive. She used to call maybe at 8 o'clock, and I left it in the office. I left it in the office even when I'm not even sleeping yet. And I don't hear it. It's on like no ring and everything. She's like, "Where are you?" So I got you on that one.
Yeah. So
no phone.
Yeah, or no scrolling in the bed, because it does something in your brain where it just keeps you too alert and it takes you longer to fall asleep. So you want to start a wind down process. No coffee. Everyone's different sensitivity levels to coffee, so it all depends. So make sure there's enough time between your last coffee and bed.
I don't drink a coffee after. If I do have that one at 2:30, that's it.
Yeah, that's good. Some people say 6 hours, 8 hours, but for some it can only be 3 hours.
Yeah, I think it's weird though. Coffee's weird because I can actually drink coffee, and then if I'm really tired and it doesn't really wake me up, I can go to sleep. Regardless of what it's doing, I'll fall asleep anyway. But okay, no phone, no coffee, past a certain hour, no.
Put it in night mode. If you are scrolling out of bed, put it in night mode before you go to bed as well, and just for the blue light. Also, I know a lot of people, business owners or people taking a lot of sales calls the next day, are thinking about what have I got the next day? What do I need to do? Right? Get a notepad.
That's me.
Get a notepad and write down what you need to do the next day. Put that notepad in your office or in another room and leave it there and go to sleep and worry about that the next day. Because if your mind's racing in bed, it's not good. It's going to take you longer to get to sleep. It's going to reduce your quality of sleep. Okay, sleep is key. Awesome. The next thing is diet. Some people skip meals. I don't recommend you skip breakfast. Some people say, I've always skipped breakfast, I'm not hungry. That could mean that you're eating too much at night time. The reason we don't want to skip breakfast is we want to increase your metabolism to start off with in the day and make sure you got stable energy levels throughout the day and reducing the chance of you overeating or snacking unnecessarily throughout the day. A lot of people skip breakfast and they eat too much at night time. And that's why they don't feel hungry in the morning, because they've eaten too much at night. And that's the worst time to be eating too much.
I don't eat after a certain hour. I always have dinner at dinner time, 5:30 to 6:30 or 7. Sometimes we eat, when we go to karate, maybe we eat at 7 o'clock. But I'm just I'm thinking to myself, is that when you say don't eat too late? Because I was always, for a long time, the breakfast, the thing was, and the breakfast thing was, I was always on the move in the morning. I didn't sit down the breakfast. I would that's why I got used to just doing the yogurt and something on the road, a bagel or, something to that effect. It was just always light. I didn't really feel like it disturbed my energy level for the day yet. I think what's changed is being here and maybe less mobile. that's what gets me to that 2:30 mark where I'm like, yeah, shoot, I'm feeling a little tired. Also looking at the screens all day and making the constant calls and things like that. So that all adds to it for me. But yeah, I think that's why I started off with a light breakfast. I won't say no breakfast, but just a light breakfast.
That's okay. It's something.
Yeah.
And then
Maybe if
also,
I eat more, I would actually last a little bit longer in the morning. I don't know. It just seems like maybe it's what I need to eat in the morning. Like, what would be like an ideal breakfast for you in the morning?
it can be a whole range of things. It can be things like oats, porridge with some light milk, add some protein powder if you like, because the more protein you have in your meals, the longer you feel satiated, you feel fuller for longer. So if you're just having pure carbohydrates, it's not going to last. It's going to digest very quickly and you're going to feel hungry too easily. Or even like a couple of eggs, 2 eggs with a piece of toast, no butter, or even some healthy cereal options, or even just some toast with some healthy peanut butter as well, things like that.
I'm not a peanut butter guy. You know, that's funny, man. I can eat nuts like salted peanuts or cashews or whatever, any kind of nut, but I hate peanut butter.
Yeah. Okay,
It's like,
interesting.
it's weird. I don't know. Some people say it's weird.
So you need
Okay,
to prioritize your meals,
nice.
and your day revolves around your meals. Don't revolve your appointments around your meals if you can help it. And make sure that you're spending time. Like I did the mistake of I had 7 Zoom calls in a row, 1 hour Zoom calls in a row once, right? And I didn't have proper time to eat, and that was the mistake I made. So if you can block out times in your schedule to make sure you're prioritizing those meals, do that because your health is a priority. Okay. And then there's other things like hydration, making sure you're drinking enough water, and it has to be pure water or sparkling water is okay. So 2.5 liters, or for those still stuck in the imperial system, 85 ounces is the minimum you should be having. If you're a female, you can have a little bit less.
85 ounces of water.
Mm-hmm.
What is that in, how many, is that like that's 85 ounces. I probably drink 3 of these,
Not
16,
enough. Yeah.
16, 18 ounces. And then I pepper in, I have juice in the morning. I have an orange juice. And maybe I have a little bit of the natural iced tea, like a natural tea or something like that. But maybe more. Maybe I do 3, 4 of these, 4 or 5 of them, maybe 4 or 5. Well, because I realized at dinner I might refill it. That's the thing. Like at dinner, I'll refill it twice. So maybe 5 of these a day.
If you can get a bottle, it means that you have to get up less to refill it, and it's always there for you.
Interesting.
And then the other thing is exercise. It's not essential because some people complain about time, so you don't need to do it. But if you do exercise, it's going to improve your fitness, your general health, and give you more energy too. Particularly cardiovascular exercise. So cardio, it's going to help you be more energized and make you more alert because your heart and lungs are operating at a high capacity.
What do you suggest to people who like maybe like my wife always says this, she doesn't like the impact, you know, so she doesn't run.
So there's things like the stepper, there's the cross trainer, there's an exercise bike, or even just like body weight circuits where you're not stopping between sets and you're getting your heart rate up. The thing is with exercise though, people don't know where to start, or they might feel overwhelmed. My suggestion is anything is better than nothing. Anything. So if you're not sure what to do, just do something. If it's a 30-minute walk, do that. If it's 20 push-ups, do that. Start with something and then form it into a routine. Routine is key in order for you to be consistent. If you're not consistent, there's no point in doing a workout for 1 week, then skipping the next week and then starting again. It's not going to have much impact. So consistency is key with something. If you can do 3 times a week, that's a good start.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. About 3, 4 times a week, I would do that walk, and I increased it. Like 2 weeks, go a little bit longer. You know, like it depends on how I feel, like on the last leg, right? So I'm like, okay, this is I'm feeling good. Let me go a little bit more. You know, do some people, is that an issue at all? Like in terms of exercising? I mean, maybe you don't come across it as much as it maybe you used to, but like where they increase too quickly and that overwhelms them, or?
Not really. They tend to start slowly, my clients, and we just try and guide them into increasing. So when they see they're more energized, they're conditioned, they're not feeling as sore from the workouts, give me more. Cool, let's give you more now.
Yeah.
So exercise is a good way to counteract that slump, that afternoon slump. So some people can exercise in the morning. It's probably the best time to do your workouts in terms of you're probably the most energized. However, I like to use my energy for my business. So I take my kids to school, 9 a.m. my time. That's when I get stuck into it. Get all the challenging tasks out of the way. When my energy starts to wane off in the afternoon, that's when I hit the gym, and that reinvigorates me, it re-energizes me, and I get into the second session of my day.
Because you push yourself to do it too, right?
Yeah, and your hormones, you're getting adrenaline, serotonin, all those sort of things, re-energizes you. Even if you just go for a walk, go outside, get some sun, get some vitamin D. Vitamin D energizes you too, wakes you up more. If you've got a dog, take your dog for a walk.
There's something else that can energize you too. This is a clean show, but you can, I always think that like that's what I say to my wife. I say, you want to do some exercise outside of walking? That gets your heart rate going, doesn't it?
And
come on. If you're doing it right.
For sure. There are a lot of health benefits to it.
Yeah, especially for the prostate.
Cold showers, cold plunges, a good way to break up your day and overcome that slump.
Cold plunge. All right. So look, there's a couple of linkies of mine that talk about that. They're a little I've seen some videos of it and it's crazy, but I went to the only time I've ever really, obviously when my hot water heater is not working, I'm taking a cold shower, which is very rare, but it's happened. But I used to go to this Russian bathhouse in Brooklyn a few times when I was working there, and they you go into the sauna, and then when you come out of the sauna, they got these things you stand in. It's like a shower, and you just pull the thing, and it goes, it blasts you with ice cold water, right? And it's supposed to be heat cold. And my father used to tell me that's how you get pneumonia, but it's supposed to be invigorating, right? And it was, but I'm not into the cold plunge. What is it really? I mean, look, I take a shower and I get other things. I get invigorated other things, but is that really that good? Because people talk about the cryo things and they talk about really ice cold. What does that do for your body?
It just depends on how advanced you want to go. Like for me, cold shower is enough. I just have a pure cold shower. It helps with inflammation. It helps wake you up as well. Makes you more alert, as well as it helps with resilience too. So if you can handle a cold shower, even in the winter, it helps with your mindset. And so when I have that cold shower, I give myself self-positive affirmations through that time while I'm having a cold shower. So I'm talking to myself, giving myself a boost mentally.
I think the whole time in the cold shower, I'm going.
Well, that's why you need to overcome and work on your breathing as well.
Yeah. How long do you stay in it?
For however long my shower takes. So it could be 5 minutes.
Oh, you actually washing yourself and stuff? I thought it was like you take the hot shower to do that, and then the cold shower.
It's part of my shower process. I'm trying to save time here.
I got you. All right. Maybe I'll try that. I don't know. Because I can see these guys that get in first of all, I don't even know where the hell you get one of those giant buckets, and where the hell you produce that much ice? Like when I go to the store to get ice, it's because we're having a party and I need it for the cooler, or I'm going to the game and I need it for the cooler. I'm not thinking about grabbing, like, hey, give me 4 bags of ice. Oh, what are you guys doing today? Oh, is it a cookout? I'm like, no, I'm doing a cold plunge. Don't look at me like I'm nuts, So I always think it's funny, but they're just doing it for kicks, as a challenge or something, and standing there for 30 seconds. Ryan Reiser, a good friend of mine, coach online, and he talks about the Stand Durst 3 challenge. It's just like another guy that he knows that created this like regimen, right? And part of it is there's sit-ups, push-ups, a ruck carry, and then the cold plunge. So he does, like, he tells you the miles that he ran and this and that, and then he's like, cold plunge for 35 seconds, whatever it is, a minute and a half. I'm like, a minute and a half. Now it's usually like 4 minutes, like 4 or 5 minutes, but I'm like, I can't. I don't know. I'm not a cold person. I hate the cold. I really do. I want to get out of New York. I want to move to places like where it's warm, like Australia. I think there's a direct correlation, like I said to you earlier before the show, where people, in warmer climates are probably much, much healthier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the majority more.
Yeah, so we have in the northern states where I am, it's warm throughout the whole year. And so people are a lot happier and have less injuries and less joint pain.
That's also another thing about the consistency in exercising, of course, is about, protecting yourself in a way from things that would normally, like, for example, when I wasn't regularly, say, going to the chiropractor, there would be a time or here and there where I'll make a sudden move to grab something from the cabinet, or I'll do an odd move to grab something. I'll go like this or something. And then all of a sudden I tweak my back and I realize, oh my God. But because I've been preventative maintenance, right, it'll correct itself a lot faster. And so again, those things about being, the exercising isn't so much about, you're staying healthy, you're staying in shape, you're the culture part of it, but also preventative, like you're protecting yourself. God forbid you slip in the street where you could catch yourself and you don't pull a muscle or you don't rip a tendon or something like that. I'm sure you would agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the amount of weight that you're carrying. If you're carrying more weight, the body can respond you can have a worse injury if you're carrying extra weight. And that's why I always like to think of being on top of your health and exercising is anti-aging. Because I see people that look older than me and they're 35, yet I'm 45. It shows that what they're eating and not exercising, it ages them a lot quicker. So we want to reverse that process. And also being overweight, you're also you're making your body work harder. Therefore, it's draining your body more, and therefore you're feeling lower energy levels, particularly at the end of the day. And a lot of fathers complain about not just the afternoon slump, but they get home and their kids want to play with them, yet they're too tired to. They don't feel like it, or they're just out of puff when they try to keep up with them with the sports and activities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a common story, especially when they're overweight, that they just don't, they can't. You hear many, many stories, even some of the things, even on TV, we see, like they'll start out like people like you who are offering their services, and they'll start out with that story. So I actually have one, I know we're a little bit over time normally. I hope you have a couple more minutes, but I'm curious. I got to ask, have you had any failures with customers?
With clients?
Yeah. Yes.
I've helped over 400. Most of the ones that don't get results are the ones that don't show up, that don't do their check-ins, that don't do what we ask. Probably only, I would say, 2 out of the 400, they got results, but they sort of hit a plateau and weren't able to continue to see results. And that's where we need to look at, okay, let's introduce some exercise or more exercise to get that last bit off. Because that last few pounds can be the hardest pounds to take off.
Mm-hmm. And tell me about your greatest success story per client.
My greatest success story? Oh, there's so many.
All right, so pick one. It doesn't have to be the best.
Whatever.
Don't tell me the same one you told me when we started. Just 12 kilograms. I wanted something else.
Yeah, I would like to think I had a
Paint me
gentleman.
the picture of what the gentleman came to you with, his story, and now where is he today?
Yeah, so all the men that come to me, or majority of them, they come to me with they've passed bad past experiences with their diets. So they've tried diets that were unsustainable. They lose the weight and they put it back on, and it becomes a frustrating cycle. So they're looking for what's the long-term answer. So this guy came to me. He had the same, went through the same cycle of the last 10 years, going on a diet, losing the weight, putting it back on, and people would start to mock him because they're like, "You do this all the time." And when he joined my program, they said the same thing. Yeah, Nick's going to be losing weight and he's going to put it back on. It's not going to last, right? So he was very heavily invested, and I was heavily invested in him to make sure it would happen. And he ended up losing 25 kilos, 26 kilos, which is about 60 pounds, right? And was running every day, was lighter. He ended up going to Europe and feeling in the best shape that he ever did for his trip. That was his goal. And he hasn't been able to maintain the 26 kilo loss, but he's still around the 20 kilo lost amount that he's lost. So he's still managed to maintain most of what he's achieved. As he's a completely different person. He looks sharper. He fits into new clothes. He looks amazing.
Does he have children?
He doesn't. He's not a father yet, but he's looking to become one and find a wife. So this will help him as well.
Yeah, I got to imagine that's also a key thing, right? Where people just are overweight. Yeah, they're overweight and they just like they can't attract women. Because now it's like, well, it's hard, right? Because now you can kind of have the online presence like this, right? And then when they see you live, then it's like, oh shit. But like some of those dating apps have a lot of guys like they want to show you the whole picture, right? You know, or at least most of it, so you can get your idea. Just like, but you know, who knows, right? It's quite interesting. I'm surprised you said 2 out of 400. I'm blown away by that. Like, and that those two aren't even that bad. I'm just talking about people. Like, I was hoping for a story like they dropped off the edge and they're overweight again, and like, you know, you're still like they're hanging on, but you know they weren't so great. Well, good for you, Andrew, man. I really thank you. My audience just thanks you. I think some of just the key things that I took away tonight, obviously, is the notepad thing really hit home for me because I do that. I don't think I have a problem falling asleep. I actually think I fall asleep faster than I used to. Like my son has a problem, and he has the same problem I did when I was a kid. He sits in his room when he goes to sleep at 9:30. He sings to himself. You know, he's just talking to himself, singing to himself, and that's how he wanes off to go to sleep. I used to not sing necessarily when I was a kid, but like even as an adult, I would sit there and I don't know, just as a kid, I think I was doing what he was doing because what did you have to think about when you were a kid, right? You know, so I was probably singing, but like there was a time I do remember where I would keep me up for like an hour before I go to like actually fall asleep. And I don't kick my phone. I've never took my phone ever since they existed into bed with me. I don't sit there and scroll in bed. My wife does a little bit of that for a couple of minutes because she watches her show and then she's like chats with her friends really quickly and then goes to bed. But I keep my phone downstairs. But so my son sings and like so I used to do that, but now I can actually go to bed and I go to bed at like 10, sometimes 10:30, where I used to go to bed at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, right? It's like I go to bed at 9:30, I wake up at 6. That's almost 9 hours, 8 hours, basically a good 8 hours. I don't get up in the middle of the night. I think I sleep pretty well. But it's the notepad thing. It really got me because I do think about stuff, you know, like all the time. And if I just write it down, I don't know if I'm thinking about what I need to do as opposed to like what you said earlier about like high level stuff, like work on the business. I'm thinking that kind of stuff. Like, what am I going to do next tomorrow? Like, what can I add to the repertoire tomorrow? Sure. So I think if I just write those ideas down, I don't think about them in my bed or on my way to bed. That would be great. The water bottle thing for sure, because we have water bottles, but I do drink the glass and maybe refill it. It'd be a lot easier if I did that, especially one that keeps it cold. And then the hump in the day, I don't know. It's that for me is this 2:30 thing. I think just has a lot to do with what I'm doing. Like I'm working hard in the morning and the screens in my eyes, and So I hope everybody else may have pulled some other things. Amazing advice. The last thing I would like to understand is, do you have a photo of you actually competing? I was looking at what's behind you on the wall, and I wasn't sure if those two little photos there were you posing, but
No, I don't.
no.
Sorry.
All right.
I've got one of my trophies there.
Oh, sweet. There you go. Cool, man. And I know. Then close and tell me what it was like meeting
Arnold. Yeah, he didn't say much. He came to our gym and he did a presentation, and he was a very inspirational speaker. But he just grunted when I shook his hand, and I moved on.
That's cool. When was that? When was that in your career?
I think that was 2014.
Oh, not too long ago. Yeah, 10 years, 11 years ago. Cool. Cool. I wish I met him. Is he big still?
He's big and he's tall, yes.
Tall.
Big presence.
Yeah, man. Got to imagine he's still, even in the movies, man, even as like Expendables, where he's like getting really old already, he's like, he's still monstrous. What's his regimen? He probably still works out, I got to imagine.
He still works out, yeah.
Yeah. It's like Stallone is. You ever meet him?
I haven't met him, no.
Sure, you met a whole bunch of weightlifting guys that I don't know.
Ronnie Coleman.
What do you think of those like the strongman competitions? Do you think, like, despite them trying to do those things the right way, the correct way with the belt, do you think that's like too much? Do they get hurt more, do you think, because they're so big?
I'm not sure what their injuries are like. I'm not really knowledgeable about that. I just don't like when some of them, they just think they can, because they're going to have high calories for their strength training. So they just eat whatever, which includes a lot of fats, and they can
steaks.
some of them go overboard, and then that can raise their cholesterol levels and increase their chance of heart disease.
Yeah, some of those guys are really big, even heavy in the belly area. They're probably overweight too. They're not necessarily fit. They're just strong as horses. But hey, listen, man, it's been great. I really appreciate you joining the show. I assume everybody can find you at ditchthedadfat.com, on LinkedIn, anywhere else that they should be looking. YouTube, you mentioned you got a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel, Six Pack Dad, where I normally release a video every week. But if they go to ditchthedadfat.com, it's an opt-in page, just a name and email. It'll give you access to a video about my whole process, some more case studies, some more information. And then if you want to have a chat with me, what I can do is offer you a complimentary review of your diet, your habits, and your lifestyle, seeing what your challenges are, seeing what your goals are, and then walk you through the whole process if it's something that I feel I can help you with. Accountability is a big key for some people. They just need that accountability and structure, and that's what I typically help with. If you tell me that you're from the podcast, so just tell me the code word HUMP. I'll give you a free extra month of coaching as well if you decide to join.
Nice, man. I hope I can drive some people your way, or continue to drive them way as I produce content from the show. I'll also send you, of course, a copy so you can use. But thanks again, man. Thank you very, very much for joining us at the Hump today. Brought to you by SDR Insider, Marc Mac. I'm your lead cameraman, Andrew Jax, Six Pack Dad. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Just hang out for a couple of seconds. Next week, special show, 12:30 in the afternoon, which is probably probably midnight, or no, 16 hours, be like 6 in the morning or 4 in the morning, something like that, by you. But bringing on Shane Mahi, my good friend Shane Mahi from Mega.ai, talking a lot about AI and how that's impacting the world, actually building voice AIs. So that's going to be a crazy show. If anybody knows Shane, you guys know Shane out there. It's going to be a great show. And then for the month of March is going to be Women in Sales Month, Women's Month. It's Women's Day also. So I'm going to be hosting a number of excellent women, sales leaders, founders for the month of March. And of course, I'll be back with some of the great same stuff coming in April. So join us every week at, except for next week, 12:30 in the afternoon, Eastern time, but every week, Wednesday night, 5:30 on the Hump. Thank you all, and good night. Peace.